Today we're going to be getting into flow control, which is the abstract phrase for anything that will let us jump around in our program. Now, the utility of that comes from the fact that sometimes we want to react to things that exist in our program and execute different parts of our code based on some other state or variables in the program. All right, now let's get into it. As usual, I'm going to open my favorite environment, which is terminal and text edit. Probably the most simple environment you could use in writing code. So I'm going to open my terminal, zoom in a bit, go to my desktop, create a new file named test that we're going to be working with. You should see it appear here. There we go. I'm going to open that file with text edit, and now we are ready to code and run code. Easy as that. All right, so something that I want you guys to get familiar with in coding is the idea of seeing expressions. So just like in math, for example, where you would see an expression like 10 is less than 12, we have expressions in code. What Python's going to do when it sees an expression like this is that it's going to run the code, and when it gets to this expression, it's going to replace the value of the expression with what it actually results to. So in a case like this, where we have a comparison, we're going to have Boolean values of true or false. In other words, Python's going to look at that and replace it with true. And we can see that by simply printing out this literal expression. Cool, we see that. One of the major things I want you guys to take away from this is that you can take expressions and move them anywhere you want. You can even assign them to variables and whatnot. Now, the reason I bring that up is because right now I'm going to get into the first component of flow control, which is the conditional statements. So the if statement is a construct in programming that will let us execute some lines of code based on an expression being true. So remember the expression, for example, 10 is less than 12. If that's true, then after we type a colon and after we indent our new code block, we can start executing code that will only execute if that statement is true. Now this is a bad example because this will always be true. But let's say we had some variable that somebody gave us somehow, and it is a name. Say that name is Messi. Okay. So what we're going to do in this code is that if name equals Messi, we're going to print out Messi, soccer player's number, and his number is 10. Now, something worth noting here that I didn't point out to you guys is that this expression is not going to work. And the reason is because when we want to compare if two things are equal in most programming languages, we have to type double equals for comparison. The reason for that is purely from a computer science standpoint, and that we don't want to confuse Python and make it think that we're trying to assign this variable to this value in a place where it shouldn't be happening. All right, let's run it. Cool, so we see 10. So let's say that we wanted to print out somebody else's number. So the way that we would continue this chain of checking that name equals some player or name equals another player is that we type in elif, which means else if. And just like if, that's going to take another conditional, and we're going to make it Ronaldo. Then we're going to print out his number. Okay, print out 7. And we can print out another player. We could type in elif name equals ... But we're not going to. So again, in accordance with the fact that we're learning about flow control, I want to show you guys how this runs. So what's going to happen is that Python is going to look at this statement. When it gets to the if condition, it's going to evaluate this expression, and it's going to substitute it with its value. And it's going to evaluate this expression, and it's going to substitute it with its value. In a chain of ifs and elifs, Python is going to execute the first one that is true. Okay, so Python is going to evaluate the expressions, and the first one that is true, it's going to execute, and it's going to jump over all the other ones. Okay, so again, just like you saw before, Python is going to behind the scenes do this. It's going to evaluate these to true and false, and after it does, it's going to jump all the way down here. Now we can see that if we print something else over here, print done with program, then we should see the first condition execute and then done with program. We change this to Ronaldo. This is going to effectively be the case that this statement is true and this one is false. and Python's going to execute the first true one, which is to print 7. Cool. Now, in the case that we didn't specify Messi or Ronaldo, and we just want a catch-all for all players, we're going to do else, which pretty much means if none of these were true, so for example, if this is false, and if this is false, we're going to print nothing. And let's run that and change the value so that both of them are false. Test. Okay. So we printed nothing, and we are done with the program. Alright guys, so in this video we covered the most basic component of flow control, which are the conditional clauses of if, elif, and else. Remember, the two main things I want you to take away from this video are that 1, the first true statement in a chain of if conditions will execute, and 2, that you can write expressions almost anywhere you want in Python. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to be tackling the next major component of flow control, which are loops. I'll see you guys then.